And not only that, the flight attendants, the workers, the service industry, they're no longer in the business of customer service. They're in the business of mask policing. That's what they are. They're no longer friendly. They're all policing Nazis.
This just in, former President Donald Trump has been asking advisors if he could somehow reassume the presidency this year, despite losing the election to now President Joe Biden.
Why not, instead of just waiting for 2024, and I'm hoping you run in 2024, but why not run in 2022 for the United States Congress, a House seat in Florida, win big, lead us to a dramatic landslide victory, taking the House by 50 seats, and then you become the Speaker of the House, lead the impeachment of Biden, and start criminal investigations against Biden. You'll wipe him out for his last 2 years, and then you'll be president. Do it.
You know, it's very interesting.
You'll be a folk hero. You'll be a folk hero.
And people have said run for the Senate. Okay, run for the Senate. But you know what? Your idea might be better. It's very interesting.
It should be that he can simply be reinstated, that a new inauguration date is set, and Biden is told to move out of the White House, and President Trump should be moved back in.
First of all, that woman's a lawyer. Second of all, she's a former Trump campaign attorney. Now, the twice-impeached Florida retiree is reportedly telling people his reinstatement is imminent as he prepares to return to the campaign trail.
Trump is ecstatic that Joe Biden is president because this was all part of the plan. The most crucial step that I could tell of the whole plan was actually Biden becoming president.
Absolute but how big is the budget itself? How big is the current budget?
Well,
what do you want it to be?
All I know, because I've worked with Jim Brulti on this subject, and we've had meetings on it and looked over the entire budget.
The total budget is around $200 billion. Yeah. And you know, as somebody running for government should know that. What should the total budget be if you were governor?
You're trying to pin me down on putting an exact number out there. The revenue is raised through the citizens and corporations. Right now, we are the highest taxed state in the union. Okay?
I'm a teacher.
What school?
PS333.
You're a teacher. You teach children.
Teacher. I do teach children. Is that?
I think it's.
You say that with a little bit of, you know, something in your voice.
Well, you're at an anti-vax rally.
I am not at an anti-vax rally.
This is an anti-vax rally.
This is a rally for freedom, and so
I think that's fucking bullshit.
I'm not anti-vax. I'm pro-choice. I've been pro-choice my whole life. This is about choice. It's my body. My sovereignty starts here.
Barely anybody likes masks in schools. Their children are suffocating. You don't know what it feels like, and it's nonsense. Seriously. Like, why would you do that? Why in the world would you do that? And God created us so we can be free people. And we're not being free here or at public schools. Okay? So I would take your masks off if I were you. And I'm not wearing a mask right now, and I never will as much as I can. And George Washington made America so we could be free citizens of the United States of America. And the Statue of Liberty is for liberty and freedom, and we're not free. So maybe you just don't believe in George Washington or God, or like the boss of you or someone is controlling you. Stand up.
Welcome back, Patriots. On this show, I'm going to talk about the deal that Trump made with aliens. He struck a deal with a group of aliens known as Majestic 12 to help him save Earth. And the deal is that he takes the heat and they deliver on their promise to destroy Moloch. Together, they save the world.
It's funny, a few people have asked me here, you know, Dave, well, do you still call yourself a liberal? Does it make sense to call yourself a liberal? And, you know, unfortunately, I don't have a DeLorean and a flux capacitor, and I can't go back to France in 1780 where I could say I was a liberal with a straight face. I have no problem. I'm actually quite proud to stand in front of you and tell you that I'm a conservative. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. that you can applaud for. That I thought that was going to be a big.
Please clap.
People aren't used to live performances again. You guys know I'm live, right? We're doing this. It's fully live. I'm a human. No tape delay here. We're all sitting in Zoom boxes all day long. It's crazy. You see what they've done to us? They've made us all crazy. You can see a human in front of you. Is that a real person? I can't believe it.
There's nothing in the Bible as harshly condemned as male homosexuality, Leviticus 18:22. And in a list of sexual sins that explain God's justification for sending the Hebrews in to wipe out the Canaanites in the Holy Land, in that list of sexual sins, it's only when it gets to male homosexuality that God introduces the term in that list, tueva, or abomination. So even in the list of the most heinous sins that caused the land to vomit out its inhabitants, it's only male homosexuality that triggers God's harshest word in all of the Hebrew language. And that is the thing that the homosexual, the LGBT movement is attempting to sanitize by wrapping with the rainbow of God. And that's why in the end days, the association of the rainbow with the Antichrist is so connected. It's so essential.
Now Trump can legally do all the justice that he wants, deliver the hammer of justice, execute people, send people to Guantanamo Bay legally. Thanks to you so much, Joe Biden, for being president.
This is satanic, and I want to say as clearly as I possibly can, if the United States of America stops supporting Israel, and actually you listen to Tlaib and the other members of the squad, if you listen to what they're saying, and if the Democratic Party swings in that direction, and if the millennials lead America away from Israel, we as a nation will suffer the curse that God placed on those who would curse Abraham.
When I discern the spirits behind what the Biden administration is doing, they're doing the opposite. They don't want a holy military. They want a demonic military. And what's the end goal of that? Ultimately, not only are they welcoming that kind of behavior, but they are now punishing Christians. So they are purging the Christians, and that demonic spirit of Antichrist is coming in to take over our military, ultimately for one reason, that when the devil controls the American military, the Antichrist can rise and take over the world.
Research is research. You either know how to do research or you don't.
That's the problem, is everyone's looking at data and interpreting it from without a medical lens.
So you're into scientism. It's cool.
Scientism?
That's what I thought.
Scientism. What is scientism?
It is this idea that only the material world exists. This is it. If I can't touch it, it doesn't exist.
Peer review is scientism. Clinical trials, that's scientism.
I guess you went to public school.
Public school?
Did you go to public
you
school?
teach at a public school.
Yeah, I'm quitting because I can't take it. It's short.
I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, I know
think you're making a really good choice.
I am. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
congratulations.
Real love does not take an entire month of a year to celebrate something that you know God clearly calls an abomination in the Bible. It just doesn't. Now, listen, I cannot compromise the truth of Scripture for your kids, my kids, their kids, or anybody else's family. I know what the Bible teaches. And the Bible teaches that pride is an abomination. Pride in sin is a double abomination. So now we've decided that we would nationalistically and around the world take an entire month to celebrate something that God clearly says in his Bible grieves him.
I believe that aliens are experimenting on my family. Please be polite in the comment section, because no jokes like, oh, you got raped by aliens. If they're good aliens, like, handsome, attractive aliens, I might be comfortable with.
Tiger Woods, that was an attempted assassination. They want to lie to you and I that Tiger Woods was intoxicated and he was driving that's a lie, okay? So there was no brick or cement ravine in the place where Tiger Woods almost lost his life. Well, the deep state wanted to take him out. Why? A week before his accident, he sold off his shares in Reddit, GameStop, okay, and Robinhood. And Tiger Woods was going to give a major press conference concerning Reddit, GameStop, and Robinhood. He was going to expose it at the highest levels in connection to the Biden family. Now his legs are crushed.
When I made my announcement, the first thing that happened, which will make you laugh, but it's true, is dogs stopped barking at me. I am one of those people, you know, everyone's got that friend that dogs always go nuts around. You're familiar with this, right? You got pets?
Yes.
I was always one of those, I know this sounds so stupid, but this is just how I think that God reveals himself to us, right? This is just my experience of it. I was somebody who invariably, without exception, always used to make dogs go crazy. So we have a friend who's a political candidate down here, right? And her campaign manager has 2 of these little yappy dogs, and they would not stop. I couldn't be in her house for more than 20 minutes because it would drive everybody crazy. Even growing up, we had Alsatians, we had Black Labradors. They just didn't like me at all. The dogs don't bark at me anymore, and it happened almost overnight. Now they seem to quite like me, and it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world.
And now I see President Trump in the spirit, like literally coming to the Lord and asking him questions and hearing God for himself, and not so much needing to rely on everybody else's opinion, but actually hearing God, knowing he heard God. It comes through credible sources where, you know, they're confirming what God is speaking to him directly. So I saw Trump in the spirit, and his ear was small, and then I saw him listening for God, and the opening of his ear literally started to grow, representing his increased capacity to be able to hear and be directed by the voice of God.
Homosexuals have like 3 times as much suicide as heterosexuals, and then you go into transgender and it just continues to go up. It's a very destructive lifestyle.
Yeah. They have a shorter life expectancy.
They have 20 years less that the homosexual lives than a heterosexual. And, you know, cigarettes take an average of 7 years off of a person's life. So homosexuality is 3 times worse than smoking. We ought to put a label across their forehead. This could be hazardous to your health.
You know, we knew a long time ago when we gave same-sex marriage, you know, an unlawful benediction that the Supreme Court didn't even have. We knew back then it wasn't just going to stop, but didn't they say that? All we want is same-sex. If you would just give us same-sex marriage, we would leave you alone. Let me tell you something. And I love the truth enough to say what's about to come out of my mouth. This ain't Sunday morning, this Wednesday night. It has always been about the children. It has always been about the children. It wasn't about same-sex marriage. It's always been about these pedophiles.
Of course, everyone's very quick. It's easy to point the finger at the passenger and say, oh my gosh, they're so unruly. They're terrible. Who would beat up a flight attendant? This is the worst. This is not the friendly skies anymore. But you're right, this isn't the friendly skies anymore. The friendly skies have become the Nazi eyes. And every time we see this happen, there's a common denominator. And what is it? It's they're trying to force the mask on these passengers, but doing it in such an annoying and hassling and unruly way that they trigger the passenger. And guess what? There's no excuse for violence, okay? For the most part, you know, she shouldn't have done that. But the fact is, when they're pushing us to the brink every day for the past year and a half, pushing us and pushing us and pushing us in a pressure cooker, that's what we are right now. And they've stripped away our liberties. They have forced us to put a muzzle over our faces when it makes no logical or medical sense. They're now pushing the vaccine on us and saying that we can't fly or travel or enter into polite society if we don't. And not only that, the flight attendants, the workers, the service industry, they're no longer in the business of customer service. They're in the business of mask policing. That's what they are. They're no longer friendly. They're all policing Nazis.
My youngest daughter was born with 2 holes in her body that were perfectly cut out with a skin band-aid over, which could only have been done by aliens. Not sure how, but anyway. And what's weirder about it, it really made it didn't take like more than a minute for me to be like, oh, they took skin samples for my daughter. Don't know how, probably, I'm guessing, went through my wife's belly and did some operation, and I don't know. I don't think any of my friends or family believed me when I said these things. People who are abducted, they want to talk about these things. You can't just bottle all this stuff in. They want to release it. If you bottle it in, it's so much stress and anxiety. You need to tell people, but then when you tell people, everyone thinks you're crazy.
I don't think it's any coincidence that the True News crew all got deathly ill, got very sick right after they brought Milo onto their show, and he shared his testimony.
You best explain what you mean by that. I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, we have to remember that this is a spiritual battle as well, and our enemy retaliates. What this is, I believe, in my opinion, is that this was retaliation. We constantly battle demonic spirits, demonic attacks on ourselves, and we as Christians must stay equipped, but also we must continue to stay prayerful as we walk into these times where the enemy, it seems like he has the upper hand. But it was no coincidence that Rick and his crew are in the situation that they're in because they stood for Christ and had the spine to bring Milo on and share his platform and his testimony. Milo was somebody who belonged to the darkness. He was already Satan. He was Satan's favorite sodomite, wasn't he? And
Q was born on the 1st of April in 1860, a year before the outbreak of the Civil War, by 25 Northern generals whose sole intent was not to create a secret society, but whose objective was to design a Christian constitutional movement to protect the first Constitution of the United States. Yes, because we did have a second Constitution.
If you want to help, maybe you can say something in the comment section like, "Are you okay?"